Hey everybody, just wanted to take a few minutes here at the top before we get rolling to let you know that while we are still in the midst of the actors' strike, this interview with Chase Masterson was recorded on June 22nd, 2023 from TREKfest in Riverside, Iowa. So without further ado, enjoy.
Incoming transmission.
The Klingon word of the day is Queej.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resume podcast, the show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order and occasionally interviewing franchise alum for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer-comedian Mr. Todd A. Davis. You've seen her in film and television. You've heard her in animation and video games. She's everyone's favorite Dabo girl. It's Chase Masterson. Yay!
How are you, Todd?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm well. So excited to be on your show.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming to TREKfest. Are you stoked about TREKfest?
I am so stoked about TREKfest. I've wanted to come here for so long, and I'm so proud and excited to be your guest.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you today. First of all, you look absolutely lovely.
Huh.
This dress is just a ray of light.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you are just beaming as soon as you walk through the door. I was like, yep, there she is.
Oh, well, thank you. I love this place already. I mean, there's such sweet, lovely Midwest small town energy, and it's just so captivating. I can already tell anybody who hasn't been to the Riverside, Iowa Historical Center must come here.
Yes,
It's just lovely.
Let's pull the curtain back just a little bit for the listeners. We are not in a normal recording scenario. We are actually recording from the Historical Center here in Riverside, which is chock full of Star Trek stuff, but also historical stuff about the town and the surrounding area.
Yeah.
And we are actually sitting in an old booth that was in a dance hall.
I love that.
It's almost 100 years old, this booth, and this is so wonderful. This whole experience already is just top notch.
It really is so lovely. History is something that we can't take for granted, really. And the fact that it's like you have these really beautiful classic antique things that honor the past, and also that we're celebrating the future birthplace of Captain Kirk.
And that's so interesting about Star Trek when you get into it is so much of it is based on history, but at this point we're staring down the barrel of like 60 years of this franchise, which
60 years
is leaning on its own history and creating new history.
So creating new history. And last night we were thinking about how long it will be until Captain Kirk is born. It's only 204 years.
It's practically right around the corner.
You know, we think of Star Trek as the distant future, and it really is in terms of human history. It's a dot. It's a glimpse of time. Yeah. And how interesting that was Roddenberry's hope for the future in such a relatively short period of time. Yes. I'm sure in the 60s it sounded a lot further away, but it's not.
Even the changes made from the pilot episode, The Cage, to that first episode with the crew that we all know. Yeah. There were so many things going on behind the scenes, stuff with Lucille Ball and the production of television at that time. Yeah. Like, hey, you can't have a woman on the bridge. You can't have this person or that person. Right. And Roddenberry go, oh, okay, I hear you. And then was just like, screw you guys. I'm going to put
Thanks for weighing in.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah.
I hear you. We're going to go in this direction.
Exactly. And I will just say now, one of our hosts is Jenny, who is a pilot for American Airlines. And how wonderful is that? That we have this Star Trek history almost in a sense to thank for that boost in women's rights and abilities, and just to celebrate. that equality.
Here in the museum, they actually have a section of the women in Trek, and you think, oh yeah, and you rattle off the ones that you know off the top of your head. Then you start reading. It's like, oh, Susan Oliver, who was in the pilot episode, who broke so many barriers for women in television.
And she was a pilot.
Yes, and
Susan
another
Oliver
pilot.
was a pilot.
Yes.
And she also was a documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
And a babe. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but
quite a looker.
For a woman who could have just relied on her looks, and so many did, for her to have been such an incredibly diverse and capable and skilled. I mean, she developed skill and worked hard at it, and probably also did not take any no's for an answer.
Bingo.
And she could have just ridden on everything that she was externally.
Yes.
It's so inspiring.
There's a wonderful documentary out there called The Green Girl, and it's
yes,
all about Susan Oliver. I was like, oh, this is going to be mostly Star Trek stuff. No, that's a blip in this documentary, and I had no idea, and it dove so deep. If anybody is out there listening, seek out the documentary The Green Girl. It is a fantastic look at the life of Susan Oliver. Yeah. But even getting into like DC Fontana and all the things that she wrote.
Yes.
Quite literally wrote the book of Star Trek.
Right. And back to Lucille Ball. Did you know, I didn't know this until recently, that until the 80s, women were not allowed to have their own checking account or savings account. A woman, in order to have an account, had to also have a man's name on it. Until the 1980s.
What?
Or maybe it was the late 70s, but I'm seeing nods from from people in this room. It's phenomenal that it was so dark ages not that long ago.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So for Roddenberry's hopes to have been so advanced for us as a species and so hopeful in such a positive, beautiful way, and I'm sorry to go on about it. But
No.
But
I'm keeping my eye on the time.
Well, thank you. No, I will talk about this stuff as long as you want, or any of it really. I don't want to get dark here, but for Roddenberry to have written all of that 25 years after the Holocaust ended. Now, 25 years for us is like Y2K almost.
Yeah.
That is a blip in time, and I'm sure he. And his family members remembered that period, and not long before that, the Depression. So when you look at the scan of history, it's beautiful that Roddenberry was hopeful, frankly, at all, in the midst of the civil rights movement, but that he had such hope in the midst of what we had been through as a country, and we're still going through. Like, wow, what an amazing thing he did.
Yeah. And really, I was talking with somebody here in the museum earlier of science fiction being that cautionary tale of like being able to discuss these issues, which they did wonderfully in the original series.
Yeah.
Of discussing the issues of the day, but through the lens of science fiction, where it's easier to kind of look at it more objectively because we're talking about aliens and space and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then once you start peeling it back and you start thinking about these things, it's like, oh, we're talking about aliens. Are we? We're talking about people in this real world that are going through these things.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
And still to this day,
absolutely.
Even with the stuff that's happening with New Trek on Discovery and the diversity in front of and behind the camera, it's just Star Trek has continued to bloom, and I'm so excited because it hasn't stagnated. Like it's continued to move forward and change formats and bring all these wonderful people in.
Yes.
I can go on and on.
Oh, I could too. I mean, just to excite new generations to, frankly, about this legacy and about these stories, and also about how these stories play out in real life.
Yeah.
I was talking actually with Kevin Hageman the other night. We were at a show that Bonnie Gordon did, and she's so lovely.
She's been on the show twice, actually.
On this show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She's
okay.
Hi,
Bonnie. And hi, Kevin. And we're talking about how Prodigy, for an animated show that's really rollicking and at face value, it's just, it's this fun animated show, but they've got such incredible lessons embedded in it, and such, I think Kevin said, I start out watching an animated show and I end up in tears because the heart of this show always comes through with good writing.
Yes.
And thankfully, and obviously Kevin and his brother are incredible writers, and this show has a legacy of extremely powerful writers.
Yes. And that's one thing, as the small bit of writing I've done myself, I end up looking to these people who coming into this existing franchise, like even just from a franchise aspect, almost 60 years, like finding a story to fit in there somewhere while talking about social issues and pulling at the heartstrings. Yeah. That is no small feat.
No small feat.
So let's dive into you a little bit. I saw that you went to the University of Texas. What did you study?
Thank you. I studied acting.
Yeah.
And I had been acting since I was 5 years old. My mother was a theater director. And so I grew up in the art of this business.
Yeah.
And I had only ever wanted to be an actress. And I just had worked really hard on it in the community and regional theater all the time I was growing up.
Did you have a particular piece that was your favorite, or one that sticks out in your mind of like, that's it?
Wow. That's such a great question. It's always so hard to
tough.
Yeah.
For like drama and theater geeks, that's a tough one.
It really is, because they're all so close to your heart in different ways. I did the lead, Sally Bowles, in Cabaret. Oh, fun. Yes, which was directed by Anne Bergeron, who's a fantastic director. And I really love that for the same reasons we're discussing. A lot of people see it as a musical, as fun, and we remember, obviously the brilliant Joel Grey and, of course, Liza Minnelli and whoever you've seen do it in theater. And we're talking about the most important issues a human can discuss, whether or not we remain silent and complicit, and whether or not we stand up in the face of impending decimation. Hi, it's Chase Masterson. Nice talking with you. It's such important stuff, and the theater is something that all of us who have ever done theater, we all say that it's our first love and our biggest love, because the camaraderie, the messages, and the fact that it can be so impactful for the audience, and you feel it in the moment. Yeah. When you're there in front of people and the audience is all in the dark, sitting in one direction, facing the same place, and we have access to their minds and hearts. Yes. There's nothing more powerful than that, whether it's storytelling in theater or music. It's just, or film and TV, particularly television, because we're right there in your living room.
Yes, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't understand. There's so many streaming services out there nowadays, so you have access to all of it. But there was a time where television was not viewed as highly as film, but then that shifted, where people started to realize that the television stars had a bigger, more passionate fan base, because you're inviting them into your home. Like for theater, you're going to a theater.
That's true. They're both powerful. I didn't mean more powerful for
oh no, it's just an exploration.
Anything. It is an exploration. And yes, for the theater, you go there and it's an event and it's purposeful in that way. For television, it's purposeful in that you invite us into the intimacy of your living room.
Yeah.
And, you're there in your pajamas with no, well, frankly, I don't know if you're wearing your pajamas, but...
Chase, I am not about to discuss how I watch television.
Frankly, okay, good. All right. TMI. But you're there at your most relaxed and vulnerable, in your most intimate circumstances, pretty much. And here we are. And that is a big deal, and not to be taken for granted on any level. I mean, the fact that we're here, that I'm here 24 years later after the show wrapped, never mind when we began, and just, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
With all my heart.
Thank you for being a part of this amazing pop culture, but reflection of the human experience over the last almost 60 years. And it's
so beautifully said, Todd.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was in a musical in high school. I was Judd Fry in Oklahoma. I was the bad guy.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Poor Judd is dead.
Poor Judd is dead.
Oh.
I got hired because of this eyebrow.
Oh, that's a good eyebrow.
Thank you.
Oh, I wish you all could see this eyebrow. Okay, you've got to be able to, you got to find a
you know what? Up. When we're done recording, let's take a picture and I'll do the eyebrow.
Okay, good.
It's on, I don't want to say that my eyebrow is on par with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but it's pretty close.
Oh, that's true. He does have a good eyebrow.
He's got a great eyebrow.
I think MTV should do the best eyebrow in the right? They do everything else. It's
Yeah,
time. The
yeah.
eyebrow had its own moment.
MTV brows.
Yes.
And people are going to go, bros? No.
Brows.
Brows.
My friend.
Brows.
I have a brow.
That's a good brow.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's always hard to tell.
Can you go other side? Are you ambibrow?
No. I'm just
Just the one?
A lefty, yeah.
You know what? Lefty brow's a good brow.
Okay, yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, we'll work that out, bro.
So I see one of your early credits. You did some time in the soaps, General Hospital. I recently.
Don't we all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, that's another
great
slice
work.
of really tough work.
It is.
It's really tough work.
Yeah.
Can you take us through your experience day to day on a soap?
I had a lovely time. I was on General Hospital in 2 different roles, years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And the second time I recurred, and I really had a great experience with the cast. They were so lovely and welcoming. This was, quite a while back, but
Sure.
they were just lovely to me. And you don't have to be, you can just keep doing your job. And here she is. She's in for a day, and she'll be in for a day in a couple weeks. And, that is lovely and generous of any actor to be this way. And I had a great time on the show. Yeah,
it seems like you're really, I feel like it's an actor's boot camp, because it's like, hey, you report in, memorize the lines, go to lunch, come back, hair and makeup, and then we shoot. And it's everything. I was recently talking with somebody on a plane, actually, about the differences between single camera and multi-camera. And I made the comparison to soap operas. He goes, yeah, they look weird. I was like, they don't look weird. They look specific, because the whole thing is lit for everyone.
Ah, right.
Because you've got multiple cameras running at one time. He's like, what's the benefit? Well, we went into
when you do an episode a day, and it takes everyone else 8 to 14 days.
At least,
to do an episode. It's fast.
It's weird to think that if you shoot an episode in a week, that's considered almost a breakneck pace nowadays. But soaps, it's move.
And for those actors, you got to have your chops.
Yeah.
You have got to be able to learn a play every day.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still 42 minutes, but it's still it's a lot.
That is a lot.
And huge respect for the guys that do that every day.
And to talk about things with decades of longevity, these soaps have been running for decades, like long times, with these continuous stories. And you get actors in and out, and storylines, shift here and there, but it's still the same story, still running.
Absolutely.
Oh,
man. It's a lot of work. And at the same time, we're not carrying bricks on our head. It's not like the hardest work ever. And, I marvel at how much actors get acclaim for their work, while everyday ordinary jobs don't. And I just always have to say, the people who built this place, the people who built our sets, the people who do the catering, the people who cater and run their own restaurants, or even work at the window at McDonald's. I mean, I don't ever want to elevate acting as harder work than anything else, because it's the thing that acting is, and this is a segue. A friend of mine who was a beautiful coach said, it's not about who's the best actor, it's about who's the bravest.
Oh, that's neat.
And if you frame it in that way, that's where the work is,
Yeah.
And our I think our challenge as humans is always to be the brave.
To be brave. Not
to be the bravest, but to be brave. Because it's difficult to think about hard issues. It's difficult to get involved in hard issues. There's enough in life.
Yeah.
I barely have time to do my laundry. What am I going to go campaign for this or that? And yet that's how we make the world better. So, I don't know. That's thoughts.
No, yeah, absolutely. And we're here for them. You talk about being brave, and there's so many shows and films out there that talk about the notion of what real courage is.
Yeah.
And I think, I have to shed all this fear to be courageous.
Yeah.
And it's more of an embracing and dealing with and reshaping of it, and doing what you have to in spite of fear. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with acting, and quite literally, you're imitating life.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of connections to be made there about being brave and overcoming those fears, and really getting into what makes people brave as a former law enforcement officer.
Oh boy.
Like, yeah, I
should be interviewing you.
It's a very sad, dark tale.
Oh goodness.
But, being able to do what you need to do in spite of, and, for military, for, law enforcement, for fire, having to set the idea of, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Having to set it down.
Yeah.
And do the job.
Yeah.
And all of those things. Again, now my thoughts are pouring out as well.
No, it's a lot. But I think this is, frankly, what Roddenberry would want us to be talking about. Yeah. This is the heart of this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of these issues.
So, shifting a little bit to a more lighter topic.
I'm sorry. You can always count on me.
No, hey, that's okay.
Get to the,
This is wonderful.
Yeah. This ain't Dabo, honey.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You had a small part in Robin Hood Men in Tights. And I wanted to ask, as a comedian and fan of comedy and student of comedy, Mel Brooks as a director.
Oh my gosh. So this is one of my favorite stories. So Mel Brooks it is so lovely, and he was so lovely to me. And do you want to hear the story about how I got the job?
I want to hear all of it.
Okay. So I get this call from my agent. They're doing an open call for Robin Hood Men in Tights. And so I went in, like, with 100 other actors in the waiting room. And Mel Brooks was in the room auditioning, like, talking with people. But he just was, like, meeting people. And it was, let me just get a sense of some actors. Yeah. As if Mel Brooks needed to. But there he was. And we had a great little time. I don't know, we were joking around or something. Somehow we caught each other's hearts. And so I got cast as Lady Godiva. And so I was so excited about this. I was a new actor. I'd not done much yet. And then I got the call not long later that they were going to take out the role. They're canceling the role, and sorry, we're writing it out, but we're going to look for something else for you. And I was like, oh, that's the kiss of death. We're going to look for something else for you. I was like, I have got to be in this movie. How do I be in this movie? Make Mel Brooks laugh. Yep. So I thought, okay, got to do something radical. I got this scroll, and I wrote on it in calligraphy. My sister helped me, and it was like this beautiful, like, Robin Hood-y scroll, and we got, like, dowels from Home Depot and tassels from the fabric store, and we wrote on it in big letters. There once was an actress named Chase who had a quite pliable face. Lead supporting or bit, she was a sure hit. Mr. Brooks, you must find me a place.
That is brilliant.
Thank you. Well, he did. And I got cast opposite Richard Lewis, who was the king, and the king with the moving mole.
Yes.
And
another comedy legend.
Thank you. It was a much bigger role than it was when in the final cut, but that's the rest of the great story. So here we are at the premiere. We're at Kate Mantalini's this restaurant, and so Mel, I see him from across the room, like 30 feet away. He sees me, and he scurries over to me, saying, "Boobala, boobala, there's good news and there's bad news." And I said, okay, well, what's the good news? Lay it on me, Mel. And he said, good news is you're in the movie. Bad news is you got cut out mostly. Good news again, I left you in just a little bit so you could get paid.
What a mensch.
What a mensch. And I get residuals, like, to this day. And sometimes they're 4 cents, and sometimes they're more. And God
As someone
bless.
who watches Robin Hood Men in Tights regularly, you're welcome.
I'm glad I know who to thank. I knew there was one out there. I mean, just what a mensch. Like, what an incredible man. And in so many ways. And when you look at the history of his work, he's always just had this incredible balance of entertainment and messaging. And isn't that what we're here for? Yeah. Just change the face of entertainment, that man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the world of comedy is such an interesting one, because it's another thing that comedy has kind of a short shelf life. Yeah. In that, like, comedy is so about the moment.
Well, yes.
Things that are happening. Yes. So to find something in comedy that has longevity.
Yes. Yes. Well, if I can jump in, he told me that's why I got cut, because there was banter with Richard Lewis about him being a Fresh Prince. And they thought, well, that's not going to last because Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is not, people are not going to remember that. Of course, nobody knew that Will Smith was going to be a huge star forever, right? On whatever level
That's a different podcast.
There's too much to say. There's a lot to say there, but really I got lost here, but
no, that's okay. Looking at his filmography, it's one of these things that's kind of stood the test of time.
It has, and it was a different world then, and there are some things here and there.
Sure.
And I'm glad that we have grown up some as a society,
right?
And we need to keep growing.
And and there's a lot. Again, the parallels with Star Trek of like, there's a couple things in the original series that are a little bit cringy, and as things have gone on, it's just kind of like, oh, it's not that way anymore. Or even stuff as more recent as Enterprise in the early 2000s, just after 9/11, that show watches very differently today, 23 years later.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see all that stuff. So let's move on. You did some time on ER, getting into the single camera procedurals.
Yeah.
And then not long after, Leeta.
Thank you.
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, thank you. The ER was really something. I almost didn't want to go in for that role because I had a good booking ratio. This is so weird, but I at that point I'd gotten like 8 out of 10 jobs that I had auditioned for recently, and I thought
that is a good ratio.
Thank you. And I didn't want to have it be like I don't know what was going on in my head. I was like, this is not right for me necessarily, but I'm going to go in because I don't want to ever turn anything down.
Right.
And I got the role, and not only that, it was the first parent to ever lose a child on primetime. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and the episode was watched by I think 49 million people, which made it the largest audience for an hour drama in history. Apparently, it was second only to an episode of the Cosby Show for overall television audience, other than like
probably
and like Ed Sullivan.
Oh, Ed Sullivan.
Back when there were like 3 channels or less.
Of course.
And so anyway, and they showed my scene on the Emmys when the show was nominated for an Emmy, and they show, they like use one episode for the nomination, and our episode ER won that year. And so isn't it interesting, we were talking a few minutes ago here about being brave, and sometimes being brave, not that it was incredibly brave on any level, but sometimes doing the next right thing is all that you need to do. In fact, ever, really. You can never imagine like where something might take you, but showing up. In fact, Shatner has a book about saying yes. Mm-hmm. And it's all really so key to just the next right thing. It's a credo of AA, and I'm not afraid to say I've been sober for 16 years.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. And it's the best thing I've ever done for myself. Yeah. And also that's kind of principles for all of us, Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody out there who's wondering what to do, just think in your heart, what's the next right thing? You don't have to have the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's good to have some sort of plan. Yeah. But it's a good credo to keep in your pocket.
Just do the next right thing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Stitch it on a pillow. Like that's good advice.
In my copious spare time.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So, getting into Deep Space Nine and your role of Leeta, I wanted to, because again, we mentioned this before we started to roll, that you've answered these questions hundreds of times.
It's okay.
But I wanted to ask you something very specific. In a handful of episodes, you were actually directed by former cast members.
Yeah.
And
current cast members.
Yes, very much. LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Avery Brooks, others.
Sid.
So what is it like to be directed by somebody who's, you hear the term an actor's director, but someone with such a specific experience.
Yes.
What is it like to work under former cast members?
It's so lovely.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved watching them. I loved getting to see them do this incredible feat, because directing television is like really hard.
Yeah.
And when you think about staying on time and making sure you get every shot you need, and the pressure and the network pressure and the amount of money that's involved, and actors have to really study and train to do that. It's not something that's just given by a long shot. Mm-hmm. And it was really wonderful getting to see my friends get to fly in that way. And that is the way that I met LeVar, and it was wonderful working for him.
His episodes really stick out to me I say stick out, and it's more often than not, it seemed like he got the really character-centered episodes.
Interesting.
And I know Roxanne Dawson.
She's
a lot of her stuff, especially on Enterprise, watched like horror movies or watched like thrillers.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and so I was wondering if you kind of saw any of that in their time directing. Did you see any of their personal style come across in either personal direction or like how they run a set and any of that? Did any of that stick out for you as like, oh, this feels like a LeVar set, or this feels like an Avery Brooks set, or something like that?
The one memory that really sticks out is on my first episode with LeVar. There were a team of a bunch of Buddhist monks that came by the set.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as quick as television has to go, LeVar stopped production and just talked with them and welcomed them to set and was so respectful and lovely and open and just lovely. And I remember those moments. And I don't know. I mean, there's such a thing in this business, if I can equate that to anything general, it's you got to keep your heart about you. Mm. And you gotta, you can trust. You gotta trust that when you keep your heart about you, that you can stay on track. That everything else can fall in place. That if you take the time, that it turns out to be worthwhile. And that's a lesson I have not always followed. And I think none of us have always followed that. And it's
that's a truth.
So important.
Yeah. Looking at stuff where. I think they said it on The Office of like, I wish you knew these were the good times before they're over. Oh. And just being able to appreciate all those things.
Yes. And that's something I often do say about DS9. It was a bit of a Camelot. We knew what we had when we had it. I have chills as I say that. We knew that we were making a show that was incredibly powerful, that was meaningful to countless people, that wasn't fully appreciated yet, that was on as a syndicated show at 2:00 in the morning in some markets, if you could even find it at all. Yeah. But in the 5th season, Ira said to us, I think it was Max and me, we were just sitting there at on the side waiting for something. And he said, this show, because of the way technology is going, this show is going to be more popular in 20 years than it is now. And we were like, really? And he said, yes, just watch. And I was like, I didn't even know what that meant. Because I'm a person with technology. I can barely check my email. I mean,
I know just enough to run this show.
Right? I would never know. But yes. And so, lo and behold, he's right. And DS9 has had this resurgence of appreciation and welcoming in ways that it didn't then. I mean, there were people going, "Oh, is it really even Star Trek?" Oh, shut up. And it's lovely to see that for Ira's sake and for the whole show's sake. But this is a man who, his heart and soul, all of our writers' heart and soul were in this show so deeply. And when you think of the talent there on our writing staff, to be able to create this show in the depth of drama, the depth of loss and pain and risk is our business, but still, the incredible amount of heart and the incredible amount of comedy. I mean,
there was quite a bit.
We ran the gamut to Ducat losing his daughter to Quark as a woman. I mean, who does that?
Yeah.
And so, wow, these writers are amazingly effective at both, and that's not something you can say of many people.
Yeah, it's even funny to think, like, even in the wake of New Trek, with the 5 big shows of New Trek, that DS9 is really still kind of the outlier, but I hesitate to even call it an outlier. It's so unique amongst the rest of Trek. And just to let you know, I was on stage in LA earlier this year and got heckled because I let it slip that I hadn't finished Deep Space Nine yet.
Okay.
Somebody was just...
The tides have turned, my dear.
Yeah.
Good. Now, first of all, why have you not finished Deep Space Nine? Just kidding. And maybe you have a few other things in your life, like you were being a cop and things. That's a lot.
It's not that it... And just to my defense,
no,
Your Honor,
no.
And not that I didn't like it or anything. I really enjoyed it, but it was life caught up. It was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then I started the show. I was like, you know what? Because I had the thought, do I go finish Deep Space Nine, or do I watch it for the first time? Well, because I made it into the last season, and for whatever reason, just didn't end up getting those last. It takes
focus and time. You don't want to watch it like while you're doing the dishes.
No. It's not a white noise show.
No.
You want to pay attention. Yeah. Because like even the stuff, we've got someone here at TREKfest who's doing the makeup for folks, ears and prosthetic pieces and the whole thing.
John Paladin's amazing.
Yeah. Looking at all of that stuff, every little detail is worth examining and appreciating.
Yeah.
And
so such an amazing amount of talent on the show in so many ways. Yeah. So what were you on stage for?
I was hosting an event and doing a little bit of stand-up and stuff like that. And I was asking the crowd, favorite series, favorite character, yada yada yada, and I got a little misty at one point, but I was talking about.
Let me know when you come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will. And someone mentioned Deep Space Nine, and I was just like, and talking with the crowd related, it's like, oh, you know what? It's the one I haven't finished yet. And someone, without missing a beat, was idiot. I was,
whoa.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Okay. All right.
We're Trek fans here. We're supposed to be open and forgiving and welcoming.
Right. Okay.
All right. Jeez. Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, Deep Space Nine, of course, was not your last thing in Trek. You also did stuff on Of Gods and Men. You did voice in the video game.
Yeah. And
I wanted to ask about the voiceover because Star Trek Online was not your only thing that you've given your voice to.
Thanks.
Let's talk about voiceover. It seems to be such a unique aspect of entertainment.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Give us the rundown on voiceover work, not just for Star Trek, but like the stuff that you've done working with. What's it like working with a voice director and getting those unique pitches in your voice for different takes? What's that like?
Well, first of all, if your voice partner, if your person that you're working with is Mark Hamill, then that's pretty wonderful to begin with. Yeah. I did Robotech with Mark, and also I worked with him a couple times. On the other time was he directed Comic Book the movie.
Yes.
But thank you. I digress. Working with voiceover is just brilliant. It's so much fun because you get to be whoever you want to be. There's no holds barred. It's not about how you look. Yeah. It's about what you can do and where you can pour your energy and how you can inhabit a creature or a person how you want to. Your wildest dreams, the sky is not the limit. There's everything available to you. And I love the art for that, as well as the fact that you don't even have to wash your hair. Right?
Yeah.
It's great. So, voiceover, I started doing Robotech Shadow Chronicles was one of my first jobs in voiceover with Mark and the other actors from classic Robotech. That is a fandom that is huge.
It seems to be,
and I'm so grateful to be part of the Robotech fandom. And now, Doctor Who, Big Finish is a company, for those of you who don't know, who do Doctor Who audio adventures. And their tagline is We Love Story. And David Richardson, producer there, has an incredible knack of putting things in places and people together. And I happened to be over there for another Big Finish job, and he said, what are you doing in 2 weeks? They had a role that was going to happen anyway, where I for the nemesis of Doctor Who. And it was the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, who is so fantastic.
Yes.
Sylvester McCoy is my Clark Gable, really.
Oh.
He's the greatest. And magic. And so I did that role, and we broke the internet, and 4 seasons later, they segued. Is Vienna, who's my character. Vienna is an impossibly glamorous mercenary assassin with a heart of gold. And Vienna takes on different identities. And, oh yes, Vienna's very, very adaptable. And Vienna does all of these fun things because she is she's a bad guy with a heart that's good. And so if she's hired as a mercenary to take down the good guy, she'll turn it around and take down the bad guy.
Interesting.
Yes. It's
pretty, so lawful evil.
Lawful evil, okay. I guess. Yes. Well, yes. Don't arrest her. And so it's super fun in that British rollicking comedy way.
Right.
Like it's just cheeky and dry and very much of a ride. And then there's great stories, which are stories that you could not have in any other way because they would cost $300 million to produce.
Yes.
And so we've got this whole intergalactic thing, but people can, with Big Finish, you get all the music and sound effects and everything else. Mm-hmm. It's just without the visuals, and people play out the visuals in their head. And it's wonderful to be able to picture these fun, really great stories. There's a story about why Vienna is a mercenary assassin. She was a child soldier, and so that brings up all of those issues and child slavery and things like that. And then there's the hypocrisy of a lot of religion. There's an episode of that. There's one on the falseness of the beauty industry. And there's so many things that are really key. Plus, you get the British comedy. I love working on this show so much. So lately, I've been opposite Eric Roberts as the Master. And he is so deliciously evil and so much fun to work with and just so good and so bad and magical and just really sharp. And he and I have good chemistry. So we've done a few box sets of that. And as I understand it, there may be more ahead, but check out bigfinish.com, and the show is called Vienna. I also had the pleasure of working with Everybody's Doctor, Tom Baker. And what a magical man he is. He's like 85 or something now.
Yeah.
And
the curator.
Tom is like you think he'd be. He's open and warm and welcoming and very much like the grandfather of the studio, and will sit down with his cane and plant himself and tell stories, and you just listen, and he knows he's got you right there. And it's just that I've had so much fun with this whole team.
So I'm so glad you mentioned Doctor Who. First of all, my wife and I are currently working our way through the series because we're planning on taking our 15th wedding anniversary this year to the UK.
Cool.
Which should be right in time for the Doctor Who 60th.
Okay.
So we're going to do the whole Doctor Who thing.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But Doctor Who, we are big fans of the show Community.
Okay.
And then see in your resume that you play Annabelle Wagner in the Inspector Chronicles. Yes. So
wait.
Yeah, like first of all, do you have knowledge of the Community movie? And if so, tell us now.
Thank you. So here's the thing. We shot a little bit of that, but it was never finished. This stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
So Travis played Doctor Who, or kind of the Inspector's FaceTime.
Yes,
of course, on Community, and he's really made a lot of it since then. Yeah. He's well loved. He's got a fan base. Travis is fantastic, and he has written this really fun, like super fun script with Bob Picardo and some other really wonderful people in it. Yeah. It just hasn't been financed yet. So if there's anybody out there who wants to make movies and wants to finance a little film, it's not incredibly expensive, just more than we've got. And it's already got its fan base.
Yeah. It's when as a casual fan, you kind of hear some of the budget numbers and you're like, really? Come on. No. Start doing the math. Like, it adds up.
Oh, it does
fast.
add up. Yes, but at the same time, you can make a movie for what the studios usually spend on coffee.
Yeah.
And literally coffee.
Oh, sure.
Not donuts.
Oh, yeah.
It's, independent movie making is hard work, and it's a little goes a long way.
Yeah, and looking at, even when it comes down to the marketing budgets for, some, the big mainstream films, and you think, are you kidding? That's more than I make in a year, or that's more than my house, or whatever. And it's just like, they're pouring cash into this thing.
And here we are in the middle of the writer's strike, where the people who actually write these stories, that's what's so interesting to me. It's like, first of all, I'm a union person. We'll just say that right now. Everyone should be treated fairly in this world. And I wholeheartedly believe in human rights across the board. Yeah. And for, currently we're in the middle of a writer's strike where they're asking for 2% of 2% of the net. It's like so nothing. And you compare that to the huge salaries of the people at the top. I mean, is that really going to affect well, maybe it will. In fact, it should affect your $38 million a year salary. Yeah. And as a studio head. And it's just, you think, well, this business should be the most human of businesses because we pretend to be. Because we make stories about the goodness of mankind and the wholeheartedness of human nature, the cream rising to the top, and the good guys win, and the indomitable human spirit.
Yes.
And how love conquers all, and we must be good to each other. And then they treat each other, and then, they're just such and so you just go, wait, what are we doing? Like, are you guys really the ones making these stories? No, the writers are writing these stories. You should actually listen and not be such hypocrites when you're writing the checks. Yeah. So I hope that something happens with everyone getting a fair deal. AI. I mean, who among us wants to have our jobs taken by AI? And I'm way off the thing here. Sorry, no, and everyone else who could be, like the characters who are wonderful but not human. The bottom line is we need to take care of people, and as technology advances, it's so important that we keep in mind how we would want to be treated. Do we want to be that person who loses their jobs and can't support themselves and their family because it's easier to pay or not pay a robot? So anyway, I digress, but
there's so many different aspects to that, and seeing the things that are going on in hiatus, and I think it's giving people an audience who is more in the know than audiences have ever been, because they have access to seemingly so much of the process of the creation of this art. Yeah, I think they're really getting a good look at some of the gears and some of the levers of like how this stuff comes to be. When you find out, like, oh, you mean the reality shows are hanging around? It's like, yeah, those are reality shows. Yeah, news is hanging. That stuff stays. But I saw a breakdown of like, okay, this is this, and this are going to be the first things to go. And you think, well, really, why? I was like, well, here's why. And they kind of laid it out. And so we're really getting a behind the most in-depth behind-the-scenes look at production than we've gotten in a long time.
I've learned a few things about, I think we all have, this is going to sound weird, but I think we all have the idea that everyone's all set for the rest of their lives sitting by their swimming pools. And it's just not true.
Lighting cigars with $100 bills.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just not true. Yeah. It really isn't. No. I mean, I don't want to say too much because everyone out there is a really hardworking person, but there's I know writers on shows that are paid so little that they work other jobs or can't make ends meet. And so I hope the studios will end up being fair in terms of the strike. And I hope everyone out there will keep in mind that it's human beings that we need to take care of on this family and not cut the bottom line for our shareholders. Really.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought this up, because it's not, it is about the writers, because this is about shows that we love. And it's also about the overall picture of who are we going to become as a society when we have the capabilities to not take care of people. Will we still? What are our core values?
When you don't have to.
Right.
What will you do?
Right.
Yeah.
What are our core values? And that is based, for me, from my understanding, that is based in one thing. When people don't realize how much fun it is to be good to other people.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. And like, it's not like, okay, we can do that. No, it's like fun. Yeah. It's really so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
When you do something good for somebody, don't you? I mean, science tells us, research shows, you get an endorphin boost. You get to celebrate that, being good to someone else. And shouldn't we treat each other like we want to be treated? And yes, so it's super important. And I know this is a really tech savvy, for the most part, group of people that we're, Trek fans. So I think it's just important that once again, as we head into this new phase in society, that we Trek fans lead the way, not just with our tech capabilities, but with our values.
Yeah. I've had the discussion many times on this show of the Star Wars versus Star Trek. And I've always said it's not a versus. There's one and then there's the other. Yeah. Star Wars is very coming of age, learning who you are, breaking away from your parents, becoming your own person in this world. Star Trek is assuming you've already done that.
Right.
And this is how you approach other things and other people in this world. There are other people like you, but different.
Yeah.
And learning, here's those values. Being able to listen, being able to empathize, being able to help where you can, and all of those things. It's all so important.
Not just being tolerant, but celebrating, cherishing our differences, and being in wonderful awe of how beautiful our differences make the world.
Yes.
Where would we be if we didn't have the contributions of all of us? And even that, as I say it, I realize that's a kind of selfish place to come from. Where would we be if we didn't have? I don't mean it like that, but it really, when you look at the best way the world works, it takes all of us to make a beautiful society. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. And how dare we continue just quite frankly, this country was very much founded on a legacy of racism and slavery. It was. And so how can we continue that? How dare we take advantage of people who have less than us? How dare we value one life more than another?
Yeah.
Any of us.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know where I was going with this, but that is the bottom line. I mean, we boom, bam, done.
Well, even if I can jump into that, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. Even in Star Trek with New Trek has opened so wide, and there is so much diversity in front of and behind the camera now, more than ever before.
Yeah.
And we are better for it.
We are.
As just a franchise, we are better for it. We are
better for it. And let's get this one out of the way right now. It's not a zero-sum game. Just because we honor people of other colors and abilities and genders and preferences, etc., that doesn't erase who we are.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. And that is why we need to teach kids of every color and every kind of person. That's why we need to teach every kind of person their value and their beauty in the world, and the fact that they are cherished and loved and important. And that is just the truth.
Yeah.
You are, every single one of you. And we can also use that to realize that guy gets to say it, and they get to say it, and that girl gets to say it. Yeah. We all should get to say that.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And as you are, you don't have to change yourself to fit whatever it is. Just be you.
Just be you.
Just be you.
Just be you. And allow them to be them.
Yeah.
Because each of us only gets one life, and you don't want to be told how to live your life.
Right.
So they don't either.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really great place for us to call this done. But
wait.
But wait, there's more.
So that's why I founded the coalition.
Yes.
That's why I founded Pop Culture Hero Coalition,
yes.
which is the first ever nonprofit to use these stories to teach identity in a healthy way, to teach resilience and mindfulness and nonviolent conflict resolution and self-compassion and self-worth and healthy self-image for all people, for all body types, for everyone. And from that, we get to learn how to end bullying, racism, misogyny, LGBTQI plus bullying, cyberbullying. From that, we get to learn how to live in a society in a way where we can all live long and prosper.
Yes. I wanted to take a step back in that. And I wanted to, what was the spark for you to say, you know what? I got an idea. We're going to start a thing. What was the genesis of that?
I'll be really honest. I was in a really, really bad period. I was deeply hurting. I did not want to stay alive. It happened because I had a stalking incident, and it was through a Star Trek fan, and I was there was a threat from somebody who threatened to brutally stalk and rape me and kill my son. And it was in the middle of other hard things that were happening, and I, full disclosure, did not handle it well. And I drank to get through the pain, and I was ragefully angry. And a friend of mine said, if you want to feel better, go help people who have it worse than you. Now, I know a lot of people have it worse than me, but I didn't know anybody who was as angry as me, as ex-gang members. As like gang members. That's what I thought of when I thought, who would be like me that I could talk to right now? Now you're seeing this little woman here in a pink dress smiling the whole time, talking to you. Yeah. But back then I was a different person. And I went downtown to Homeboy Industries and I started working with these kids who have nothing, who are, an hour away from my house where I live now, and who just were born in the wrong zip code. And I started working with them and grew to love them. Now, these are kids like actual Crips and Bloods who would have killed each other for fun because of their old Romeo and Juliet rivalries, because of their age-old familial feuds. And they joined gangs in order to stay safe and because they didn't know what else to do with their anger. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do with my anger. And I started thinking we should really teach people what to do with their anger and with their pain and how to navigate life in a way that is really, life hands us stuff that we were never built to handle. Yeah. How do we handle grief? How do we handle severe depression, anxiety, loneliness, fear, shame, self-doubt? So about that time, I heard about a little girl named Katie who was bullied for carrying her Star Wars lunchbox to school. And all the boys would follow Katie around and they'd say, you can't like Star Wars, you're a girl. Well, yes. Jenny over here, one of the heads of the con, is going, what? So yeah.
I was going to say, that's making my skin crawl.
We know better than that, don't we, ladies? So Katie went home and she cried and she told her mother, Carrie Goldman, I don't want to carry my Star Wars lunchbox anymore. I'm not going to like Star Wars. I'm just going to carry my pink lunchbox. That's it. And so Carrie tried to tell Katie, no, you get to be you. But Katie cried and went to sleep. So Carrie wrote on her blog, if anybody out there has been bullied, and particularly because of gender non-conforming things, if you could just say a few words of encouragement to my daughter, I would love your support. Well, the post went viral. Thousands of people responded online in some way. Hundreds of us wrote directly to Carrie and said, I've been there, I've been bullied. We love Star Trek, we love science fiction, we love Star Wars. You get to be who you are, and it gets better. And, all of that kind of support. And so Katie kept her Star Wars lunchbox. She was incredibly heartened. There was a hashtag Star Wars Katie or May the Force be with Katie. Carrie decided to write a book on ending bullying. HarperCollins bought the book. Carrie's a wonderful writer. Carrie asked me to do an interview for her book, so I did. She asked me who else I could put her in touch with. I put her in touch with Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca. So now Katie, who was bullied in first grade, was friends with the real Chewbacca. Don't with us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, unfortunately, we lost Peter, but this really meant the world to Katie. And so Carrie asked me to get her book into Comic-Con, and that's when it all came together. And I said, yes, but let's do more. And so we were the first big bullying prevention outreach at Comic-Con. We brought the United Nations, the Amnesty International, the No Hate Campaign, and other big social justice organizations to their very first Comic-Cons. And then we wrote a curriculum. And very long story short, this is all since I founded the organization with Carrie in 2013. 10 years later, we are now the mental health organization for YMCA nationwide.
Oh, that's great.
For children and parents. So if you walk into any YMCA in the country, if they have a mental health program for children and parents, it's ours. And I want to specify mental health here because that's what it is. Mentally healthy people uphold and celebrate each other's human rights. Mm. It is about mental health. It's about being secure enough to let the other guy have theirs. Yeah. And I can wrap this up because I know we've gone long, but I just want to say that's what it's about. So our website is popculturehero.org. Again, popculturehero.org. And our social media is at superheroIRL if you want to find out more about the organization. We've also got a Be Kind campaign where Bill Shatner and countless members of our casts have worn Be Kind shirts, and that's what funds our work, and that's at bekindmerch.org. So you can get the Shatner shirt, you can get the Ken Mitchell shirt, who we love you, Ken, we love you so much. You can get the shirts that the Deep Space Nine cast was wearing, or any one of a number of others, to support this work. And like I said, make this a world where we can all live long and prosper.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me and go into all this stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. From all of us at the Computer Resume podcast, thank you so much for listening. And I'll see you in 10 Forward.
Yay.
Us on Patreon and like, rate, review, and share on all your favorite platforms. Feel free to send us your subspace transmissions to computerresumepodcast@gmail.com or at Computer Resume on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Computer Resume podcast was created and produced by Mr. Todd A. Davis. Our logo was designed by Will Martin and Justin Bishop. The opening theme was produced by Justin Bishop, and our outro music was provided with permission by Dronode. Additional music was provided by Mr. Todd A. Davis and Gary Horn, and the voice of Computer Resume podcast and executive producer, me, Kat Davis. # LLAP. We'll see you next time.
Going through a Star Trek. We're doing Star Trek stuff in space. We probably got some phasers and shuttle pods, and we're gonna find a brand new race.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?